The headache had been building since lunch, a dull throb that started behind my eyes and spread across my temples. I'd blamed it on the quarterly reports I'd been reviewing all day, spreadsheets blurring together until the numbers meant nothing. Now, standing in our master bathroom at 7:43 p.m. on a Tuesday evening, all I wanted was 2 aspirin and maybe a hot shower. The medicine cabinet door creaked as I opened it. I'd been meaning to oil those hinges for months. My fingers fumbled past the everyday items. Sarah's face cream that cost more than my car payment, the vitamins we both forgot to take regularly, the prescription allergy medication from last spring. Behind her old prenatal vitamins, the ones she'd bought optimistically a year ago when we'd talked about starting a family, my hand brushed against something unexpected. A prescription bottle. Orange-brown plastic, white cap, hidden like a secret. I pulled it out, squinting at the label in the bathroom's too bright vanity lighting. Doxycycline. Sarah Rivera. Prescribed March 15th, 2024. Take twice daily with food. Complete entire course of medication. My stomach dropped like an elevator with cut cables. I knew that medication. Knew it intimately from a shameful week during my junior year at State, after a spring break trip to Cabo that I'd rather forget. My roommate Brad had laughed when I came back from the campus clinic, calling me Chlamydia Charlie for the rest of the semester. The doctor's clinical explanation was burned into my memory. Doxycycline is the standard treatment. You must take all the medication, even if symptoms improve, and notify any recent partners. Hey, Sarah, I called out, trying to keep my voice steady, normal, like I was asking about dinner plans or weekend errands. What's this prescription for? I heard her footsteps on the hardwood, the particular pattern I knew so well. Left foot slightly heavier from the knee injury she'd gotten skiing in Aspen 3 years ago. She appeared in the doorway wearing her favorite Columbia University sweatshirt, dark hair still damp from her after-work shower. The moment her brown eyes landed on the bottle in my hand, I saw it. That flash of raw panic before her face smoothed into practiced calm. It lasted maybe half a second, but I'd been married to this woman for 5 years. I knew every expression, every tell. Oh, that? Her voice was light, casual. Too casual. Dr. Matthews prescribed it as a preventative measure. Women's health stuff. I turned the bottle over in my hands, reading the label again like the words might change, might transform into something innocent. Preventative? Yeah, she said it's good to have on hand. UTI prevention. You know how prone I am to them. She leaned against the doorframe, hip cocked, the picture of nonchalance. Every alarm bell in my head was screaming. I'd spent 3 days Googling everything about doxycycline during my own treatment, paranoid and embarrassed. It wasn't prescribed for UTI prevention. Not in this dosage. Not with these specific instructions. This was treatment for an active infection, and we both knew exactly what kind. Interesting, I said, slipping the bottle into the pocket of my jeans. The weight of it felt enormous. When did you see Dr. Matthews? Couple weeks ago. Just a regular checkup. Annual stuff. 2 weeks ago. I did the mental math quickly. March 15th was exactly 13 days ago. Sarah had been at a medical conference in Dallas, the American Healthcare Innovation Summit. She'd been talking about it since January, how important it was for networking, how it could lead to that promotion she'd been gunning for. Dr. Patricia Chen, the chief medical officer, would be there. Sarah had bought 3 new suits for the occasion. I'm going to grab a shower, I said, needing space, needing to think. Dinner in 30? I already ate, she said quickly. Had a late lunch with Miranda. But I'll sit with you. I nodded, walked past her into our bedroom. Her perfume, Chanel No. 5, the one I'd bought her for our anniversary, seemed stronger than usual. Or maybe I was just hypersensitive to everything now. In the shower, hot water beating against my shoulders, I tried to make sense of it. There had to be an explanation. This was Sarah. My Sarah. The woman who cried during ASPCA commercials and couldn't lie about eating the last piece of cheesecake without giggling. There had to be a reasonable explanation. But my mind kept circling back to the same facts. Doxycycline wasn't preventative. It was treatment. Specific treatment for specific infections. After my shower, I sat on our bed with my laptop while Sarah watched Netflix in the living room. Some medical drama she was obsessed with. The prescription bottle sat on my nightstand like a loaded weapon. First, I examined it more closely under the bright LED desk lamp. The details I'd missed in my initial shock became clear. Prescribing physician, Dr. Kumar Patel DEA number, BP 4847291. Pharmacy, CVS Pharmacy, hash 4782, 2847 Airport Boulevard, Dallas, Texas. Date filled. March 15, 2024, 11:47 a.m. Quantity, 28 tablets, refills, 0 not drive. Rebecca Matthews, her gynecologist for the past 7 years. Not our regular CVS on Elm Street where we'd been filling prescriptions since we moved to this neighborhood. The timestamp, 11:47 a.m. on the second day of her conference. I opened Google and typed, Dr. Kumar Patel, Dallas, Texas. The results made my blood run cold. Airport walk-in clinic, positioned strategically between the airport hotels and the rental car facilities. The website promised quick, confidential healthcare for travelers. The services list was telling. STD testing and treatment featured prominently, alongside travel vaccinations and basic urgent care. The Google reviews were a masterclass in coded language. Discreet and professional, no judgment. Got what I needed quickly. They don't ask unnecessary questions. Perfect for sensitive health matters when you're away from home. Cash prices available for those who prefer not to use insurance. I clicked on the clinic's location and compared it to the conference venue. The Henry B. Convention Center was downtown, a full 23 miles from the airport area. Dallas traffic being what it was, that was at least a 40-minute drive each way. Why would Sarah travel that far when the convention center had medical facilities? When downtown Dallas had hundreds of clinics? Unless she was never downtown at all. I pulled up her email and found the conference itinerary she'd forwarded to me. Just so you have it, she'd said, in case of emergencies. The official hotel was the Hilton Anatole, directly connected to the convention center. Conference rate, $165 per night. My fingers trembled as I logged into our Chase account. The credit card statements loaded with agonizing slowness. I navigated to March 14th. March 14th, 3:47 p.m. American Airlines, terminal purchase, $17.42. March 14th, 7:23 p.m. Airport Marriott, $189. March 14th, 8:56 p.m. Chili's, airport location, $47.83. March 15th, 9:22 a.m. Uber, $12.47. March 15th, 11:51 a.m. CVS Pharmacy, $0. Insurance copay. March 15th, 12:15 p.m. Uber, $13.22. March 15th, 6:45 p.m. Room service, Airport Marriott, $38.50. March 16th, 10:30 a.m. Starbucks, Airport, $8.74. March 17th, 2:15 p.m. American Airlines, terminal purchase, $12. My chest tightened. Not a single charge at or near the convention center. No downtown parking fees. No Hilton Anatole. No conference center food court. No vendor booths. No downtown restaurants where she was supposed to be networking with hospital executives. 3 nights at the Airport Marriott at $189 per night when she had a conference rate downtown. Uber rides that matched perfectly with a trip from the hotel to the CVS on Airport Boulevard and back. She'd never even gone to the conference. I pulled up the Uber app on my phone. We shared an account for convenience. The ride history confirmed what I already knew. March 15th, 9:22 a.m., Airport Marriott to CVS on Airport Boulevard. March 15th, 12:15 p.m., CVS on Airport Boulevard to Airport Marriott. I opened a new browser tab and searched for doxycycline STD treatment protocol. The CDC website confirmed my memory. Standard treatment for chlamydia infection. Must complete full course. Sexual partners should be tested and treated. My hands were shaking now. I did the pill count math. 28 pills prescribed, 2 per day for 14 days. Today was March 28th. If she started taking them on March 15th, she should have. I grabbed the bottle and poured the contents onto the dark comforter. 8 pills scattered across the fabric. She'd taken exactly 20 pills. She'd been following the protocol perfectly, which meant she knew exactly when she'd been exposed. You didn't get preventative antibiotics for STDs. You got them after exposure, after a positive test, or when a partner informed you of their status. The timing was specific. She'd gone to that clinic the morning after something happened on March 14th. I heard Sarah laugh at something on TV, the sound drifting up the stairs. The same laugh I'd fallen in love with at that rooftop bar in Brooklyn 8 years ago. The laugh that had echoed through our wedding reception, through lazy Sunday mornings, through 1,000 inside jokes. Now it sounded like a stranger's. I methodically documented everything. Screenshots of the credit card charges. Photos of the prescription label from multiple angles. The Uber receipts. The clinic location versus the conference venue. I created a folder on my desktop. Evidence. Then I started digging deeper. Sarah's company portal was still logged in on our shared iPad. I pulled up her submitted expense report for the Dallas trip. Conference registration, $850 hotel, Hilton Anatole. $495, 3 nights. Meals and entertainment. $340 transportation. $120 total. $1,805, all submitted for reimbursement. All fraudulent. She'd not only cheated on me, she'd committed expense fraud, claimed reimbursement for a conference she never attended, a hotel she never stayed at. I sat back, my mind reeling. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was planned, calculated. She'd registered for the conference months ago, told everyone she was going, created an elaborate cover story. Then she'd booked a different hotel and... What? Met someone? Who? The prescription timing told the story. March 14th. Arrival, check-in, and whatever happened that night. March 15th. Panic, clinic visit, prescription filled. The rest of the trip spent hiding in the hotel room, ordering room service, waiting at the airport Starbucks. I went back to her work emails, searching for clues. Dallas conference, Airport Marriott, March 14th. Nothing relevant. Then I tried a different approach, searching for messages from male colleagues in the weeks before the trip. There it was. An email thread with James Morrison from the Phoenix office. February 28th. James. Hey, Sarah. Heard you're coming to the Dallas conference. I'll be there too. Want to grab drinks? Sarah. That would be great. Always nice to catch up with West Coast colleagues. March 7th. James. Looking forward to Dallas. Maybe we can skip some of the boring sessions and explore the city. Sarah. Definitely. The agenda looks pretty dry. Would love to see something other than conference rooms. March 12th. James. FYI, I'm staying at the Airport Marriott. Better rates than downtown. Where are you staying? Sarah. What a coincidence. I'm at the Marriott too. Guess we can share an Uber to the conference. My jaw clenched. What a coincidence indeed. I searched for James Morrison on the company directory. Senior sales manager, Phoenix region. His corporate headshot showed a conventionally handsome man in his early 40s with salt and pepper hair and a practiced smile. His bio mentioned his dedication to client relationships and his collaborative approach to team building. Under personal interests, golf, wine tasting, and spending time with family. Family. I clicked through to his LinkedIn. Married to Jennifer Morrison. 2 kids, a boy and a girl, both teenagers. Photo from a company picnic showed a picture-perfect family, all smiles and matching polos. The rage that had been simmering erupted. This man had given my wife an STD, had sent her to a walk-in clinic in shame, had destroyed my marriage for what? A conference hookup and Sarah. My Sarah, who had stood in front of 150 people and promised to forsake all others. Who had cried when she said her vows? Who had spent 3 nights with this man while I sat at home, texting her good night and hoped the conference is going well, like an idiot. I heard footsteps on the stairs. "You coming down?" Sarah called. "They're about to reveal who the father is." "Be right there," I managed, my voice surprisingly steady. I closed the laptop, pocketed the prescription bottle, and walked downstairs. Each step felt like moving through molasses. In the living room, Sarah was curled on the couch in her favorite spot, a glass of wine on the end table, completely absorbed in her show. "You're missing the good part," she said, without looking up. I sat in the armchair across from her, not my usual spot beside her on the couch. If she noticed, she didn't comment. "How was the conference?" I asked during a commercial break. "I don't think you ever really told me about it." She glanced at me, and I saw something flicker in her eyes. "Oh, boring presentations, rubber chicken dinners, the usual." "Did you learn anything interesting?" "Not really. Same recycled content from last year." "How was the venue? The Anatol's supposed to be nice." "It was fine. You know how those big conference hotels are. Seen one, seen them all." Each lie slid out so easily. No hesitation, no tells. How many other lies had I missed over the years? "Did you network much? Meet anyone interesting?" She took a sip of wine. "A few people. Nothing major." "Oh, but I did run into James from Phoenix. Remember I mentioned him before? He's in sales." The casual admission threw me. She was voluntarily mentioning him, creating a plausible reason for any communication I might discover. Clever. "Oh yeah? How's he doing?" "Good. We grabbed coffee one morning before the session started. He's thinking about transferring to the Dallas office." Coffee. Is that what they called it now? We sat in silence as her show resumed. On screen, doctors rushed around saving lives with improbable medical procedures. The irony wasn't lost on me. My wife worked in hospital administration, surrounded by actual medical professionals, and had hidden antibiotics in our bathroom like a teenager hiding cigarettes. "I'm thinking about going to bed early," I said when the episode ended. "Still have that headache." "Want me to bring you something? Tylenol?" "No, I'm good. Already took some aspirin." "From the medicine cabinet? I didn't see any in there yesterday." My blood chilled. "Yeah, it was behind some stuff." "Huh. I could have sworn we were out. I almost bought some at CVS the other day." "CVS?" Of course she'd been to CVS recently. Just not our CVS. Upstairs, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the prescription bottle pressing against my leg through my pocket. Sarah came up an hour later, moving quietly, thinking I was asleep. I felt the bed dip as she sat on her side, heard her set her phone on the nightstand, the soft sounds of her nighttime routine. "Paul?" she whispered. "You awake?" I didn't answer, keeping my breathing steady and deep. After a moment, she sighed and turned away from me. Within minutes, her breathing evened out into sleep. But I lay awake for hours, my mind racing. Tomorrow, I'd have to confront her. But tonight, I needed a plan. I needed to protect myself. Legally, financially, medically. At 3 a.m., I gave up on sleep. I slipped out of bed and padded downstairs to my home office. First priority, my health. I booked an appointment at an urgent care clinic for the next morning. Full STD panel. The online form asked for the reason for visit. I typed, potential exposure through partner. Next, I researched divorce attorneys. Margaret Chen came highly recommended on several forums. Former prosecutor, specialized in high-asset divorces with infidelity. Her website promised discreet, aggressive representation. I filled out her contact form, requesting a consultation as soon as possible. Then I began securing evidence. I uploaded everything to a cloud drive Sarah didn't have access to: the prescription photos, credit card statements, email threads. I wrote out a timeline of events, every detail I could remember. By the time Sarah's alarm went off at 6:30, I'd also opened a separate bank account at a different bank, documented all our assets and debts, changed the passwords on my personal accounts, made copies of important documents. "You're up early," she said, finding me in the kitchen with coffee. "How's the headache?" "Better," I lied. "Couldn't sleep, so I figured I'd get a head start on the day." She poured herself coffee, added the exact amount of cream and sugar she always did. Such familiar movements. How many mornings had we shared like this? How many had been tainted by secrets? "I've got that department meeting at 9, she said. "Then lunch with Miranda, home by 6? "Actually, I have a client dinner tonight," I invented. "Probably be late." "Oh, okay. I'll grab something with Miranda after work then." Always Miranda, her perpetual alibi. I made a mental note to check if Miranda had even been in town during the Dallas trip. After Sarah left for work, I drove to the urgent care clinic. The waiting room was filled with coughing children and injured workers. I felt out of place, healthy but sick with betrayal. "Reason for visit?" the nurse asked, professionally detached. "I need a full STD panel. My wife was exposed to something and didn't tell me immediately." Her expression softened slightly. "I see. When was the potential exposure?" "She's been on antibiotics for 13 days. We've been intimate since she returned from a trip." "I understand. We'll run a comprehensive panel. The doctor will discuss the timeline and risks with you." The doctor, a woman about my mother's age, was kind but clinical. She explained the testing process, the window periods for different infections, the statistical risks. The actual tests were invasive, humiliating. I thought about Sarah in a similar room in Dallas, knowing she'd cheated, knowing she'd been exposed, getting her prescription and planning to hide it from me. "Results typically take 24 to 48 hours, the doctor said. "We'll call you as soon as they're available. In the meantime, I'd recommend abstaining from sexual contact." "That won't be a problem," I said grimly. From the clinic, I drove to Margaret Chen's office. She'd had a cancellation and could see me immediately. Her office was in a sleek downtown high-rise, all glass and sharp edges, appropriate for the cutting I needed to do. Margaret listened to my story without interruption, occasionally making notes on a legal pad. When I finished, she leaned back in her leather chair. "You have excellent documentation," she said. "The prescription alone is damning, but combined with the credit card evidence and the fraudulent expense report, this is one of the clearer cases of adultery I've seen." "What about the health risk?" I asked. "She exposed me to an STD without telling me." "That significantly strengthens your position. Courts take that very seriously. It goes beyond simple infidelity to reckless endangerment. Depending on your test results, we might even have grounds for a civil suit, though I'd recommend focusing on the divorce first." We discussed strategy, asset division, timeline. Texas was a community property state, but adultery could impact the division, especially with the aggravating factor of health risks. "I want her out of the house," I said. "Given the circumstances, we can likely make that happen. The health risk gives us leverage. I'll draft a petition that includes a temporary restraining order requiring her to vacate the marital residence." "How quickly can we move?" "I can have papers ready by tomorrow. Once she's served, things will move fast." "Are you prepared for that?" Was I? This morning I'd woken up married. By tomorrow, I'd be serving divorce papers. But then I thought about the prescription hidden behind the vitamins, the lies sliding so easily off her tongue, The nights I'd kissed her not knowing where her mouth had been. I'm ready. That afternoon, I sat in my car outside a coffee shop, working up the courage for one more task. Finally, I pulled out my phone and found Jennifer Morrison on LinkedIn. Her profile showed a professional headshot, warm smile, marketing director at a tech firm. Status: married. 2 teenage kids mentioned in her bio. My fingers hovered over the message button. This would destroy another family. But she deserved to know. Her health was at risk too. I typed, Mrs. Morrison, I'm sorry to contact you this way. Your husband and my wife had an encounter at the Dallas Airport Marriott on March 14th. I discovered this through a prescription for antibiotics my wife obtained the next day for an STD. I've attached a photo of the prescription as proof. You may want to get tested. I'm truly sorry. I attached the clearest photo of the prescription bottle and hit send before I could change my mind. Then I called my brother Mike. Can I crash at your place for a few nights? Everything okay? No, Sarah cheated. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Jesus, yeah, of course. You need help moving stuff? Just a bag for now. I'll figure out the rest later. I'll order pizza and get beer. You can tell me about it when you're ready. That evening, I went home to pack. Sarah wasn't home yet, texting that she and Miranda were having appetizers after all. I threw clothes into a duffel bag, grabbed my toiletries, important documents. I left the prescription bottle on the kitchen counter next to her coffee mug, where she'd find it in the morning. I also left a note. I know about Dallas. I know about James. I've been tested. You'll be served with divorce papers tomorrow. Don't contact me except through my attorney. At Mike's apartment, I finally let myself feel the full weight of it. My marriage was over. 5 years, just gone. Because of pills hidden behind vitamins. Want to talk about it? Mike asked, handing me a beer. She went to Dallas for a conference, except she didn't go to the conference. She stayed at an airport hotel with a coworker from Phoenix. How'd you find out? Prescription bottle, hidden in the medicine cabinet. Antibiotics for an STD from a walk-in clinic near the airport. Mike whistled low. That's specific. Right? If you're going to cheat, maybe don't get a disease. If you get a disease, definitely don't hide the evidence in shared spaces. What kind of person does that? Apparently, the kind I married. My phone exploded with calls and texts around 9 p.m. Sarah, hysterical. I didn't answer, didn't read them. Margaret had advised no contact once I'd left the note. Mike took my phone, turned it off. Not tonight, man. Whatever she has to say, it can wait. But I couldn't turn off my mind. I kept thinking about the timeline, the planning it must have taken. She'd registered for the conference in January, started emailing with James in February, booked the airport hotel instead of the conference venue. Had she packed special lingerie? Bought new perfume? How long had she been anticipating those 3 nights? And then the morning after, waking up to his confession that his ex had warned him about having chlamydia. The panic she must have felt. The humiliation of sitting in that walk-in clinic, knowing she'd have to hide antibiotics from me. Knowing she'd risked my health for a conference fling. The next morning, my phone showed 47 missed calls, 83 text messages, and 12 voicemails. I didn't check any of them. Margaret Chen called at 9 a.m. sharp. Papers are ready. Do you have her work address? I gave her the hospital information. She's usually in her office by 8:30. Perfect. She'll be served by noon. I've also initiated a freeze on joint assets and filed the fraudulent expense report with her employer. That should give us additional leverage. You did what? She committed expense fraud. Claimed reimbursement for a conference she didn't attend. That's termination worthy at most companies. It strengthens our position significantly. I hadn't thought that far ahead, but Margaret was right. Sarah had not only cheated on our marriage, but also on her employer. At 12:47 p.m., my phone rang. Sarah's office number. I let it go to voicemail. Then her cell. Then Miranda's number. Then a number I didn't recognize. Probably a hospital colleague's phone. At 1:15, Mike texted me, "Your soon-to-be ex just showed up at my building." Dorman turned her away. "You good?" The texts from Sarah started coming through despite my blocking her number. She was using other people's phones. "Please talk to me? It wasn't what you think. I can explain everything. The prescription was preventative. James meant nothing. I love you. Please come home." This is all a misunderstanding classic progression. Denial, minimization, blame shifting, love bombing. I'd been reading about it on infidelity forums all morning. At 3 p.m., Margaret called again. She's been served. She was not happy. Security had to escort her out of the hospital after she made a scene. She made a scene at work? Apparently, she tried to access her office computer to delete emails but found herself locked out. HR was already investigating the expense fraud. She became agitated. By evening, the Phoenix fallout had begun. Jennifer Morrison had not only received my message, but had taken immediate action. Her Facebook post was a masterpiece of controlled fury. PSA: if your husband traveled to Dallas for business in March, you might want to check his credit card statements and get tested for STDs. Just found out my husband gave a co-worker's wife chlamydia at the airport Marriott. Attaching the prescription proof. Ladies, protect yourselves. The photo of Sarah's prescription was clearly visible. Name and date unredacted. The post went viral in their industry circles within hours. Someone tagged both their employers. HR departments launched investigations. The Dallas Airport Marriott started trending in professional forums as Chlamydia Central. My phone rang. Unknown number, but I recognized the area code. Phoenix. "Is this Paul Rivera?" Male voice, rough with emotion. "Who's asking?" "The guy whose wife just blew up my life with a Facebook post about STDs in Dallas. I'm James Morrison." The audacity floored me. "Are you seriously calling me right now?" "Look, man, I need you to know. What I know is that you gave my wife a disease. What I know is that you destroyed 2 marriages for a conference hookup. What I know is that you're a walking health hazard who... I didn't know I had it when we... But you found out the next morning. And instead of immediately calling to warn her, you waited until after. After you'd already exposed her. My ex texted me that night. I didn't see it until the morning. And that makes it better how? I'm getting tested. I'm handling it. Handling it? Your handling it led to my wife hiding antibiotics in our bathroom. Led to me having to get tested because she didn't tell me for 2 weeks. Led to... She said she was separated. I actually laughed. Separated? We had dinner together the night before she flew to the conference. We made love that morning. Does that sound separated to you? Silence on his end. Let me guess, I continued. She also told you I was abusive? Controlling? That your conference fling was her finally breaking free? Something like that, he admitted quietly. Here's some free advice, James. Next time you want to play hero to a married woman, maybe verify her story first. And definitely get tested before you spread diseases around Dallas hotels. I hung up and blocked the number. The urgent care clinic called the next morning. Mr. Rivera, your test results are available on the patient portal. My hands shook as I logged in. Negative. All negative across the board. The relief was overwhelming. Pure luck or careful timing on Sarah's part, but I'd escaped the physical consequences of her betrayal. The emotional consequences were another matter. Margaret Chen was a force of nature in court. The emergency hearing for the restraining order was scheduled for 3 days after Sarah was served. She showed up with an attorney, not a very good one, apparently grabbed last minute. Your Honor, Margaret began, Mrs. Rivera, not only committed adultery, but knowingly exposed Mr. Rivera to a sexually transmitted infection. She hid her condition for 2 weeks while continuing marital relations. This goes beyond simple infidelity to reckless endangerment of my client's health. Sarah's attorney tried to argue it was a simple mistake, that the medication was preventative, that there was no actual harm since my tests were negative. Margaret destroyed him. Preventative? Your Honor, I have here the CDC guidelines for doxycycline. It is never prescribed preventatively for STDs. It is prescribed for active infections. Mrs. Rivera knew she had been exposed, sought treatment, and then deliberately hid this from her husband while continuing to engage in intimate relations. The judge reviewed the evidence, the prescription, the clinic location, the credit card charges showing the airport hotel instead of the conference venue. I also have evidence of expense fraud, Margaret added, submitting the falsified expense report. Mrs. Rivera claimed reimbursement for a conference she never attended, staying instead at a different hotel for personal activities. The judge's expression hardened as he reviewed the documents. Sarah's attorney whispered furiously with her, but there was no defending the evidence. Temporary restraining order granted, the judge ruled. Mrs. Rivera, you have 48 hours to vacate the marital residence. You are to have no contact with Mr. Rivera except through counsel. Sarah started crying. Your Honor, where am I supposed to go? That's my home too. You should have considered that before endangering your husband's health, the judge replied coldly. 48 hours, Mrs. Rivera. Outside the courthouse, Sarah tried to approach me. Her attorney held her back, but she called out, Paul, please! It was one mistake. We can work through this. I kept walking. One mistake. She called 3 nights in an airport hotel, a hidden prescription, 2 weeks of lies, and expense fraud. One mistake. The Dallas fallout continued to ripple. Someone leaked the whole story to an industry gossip blog. Pharma exec and sales manager's Dallas conference spreads more than network connections. The headline screamed. Both Sarah and James were terminated by the end of the week. The expense fraud was the official reason, but everyone knew the real cause. Their photos were shared across LinkedIn with warnings about conference behavior. The most surreal moment came when the airport Marriott actually changed their marketing. A friend in the hotel industry sent me their new internal memo about enhanced health and safety protocols and maintaining professional standards during business travel. They didn't mention the incident directly, but the timing was obvious. Sarah moved in with Miranda. At least, that's what her attorney told Margaret. She tried reaching out through mutual friends, each attempt more desperate than the last. She wants you to know she's in therapy, our friend Melissa told me over coffee. She says it was a midlife crisis, that she self-sabotaged because she was scared of happiness. A midlife crisis at 32? That's what I said. She also claimed the antibiotics really were preventative, that James told her he might have been exposed but wasn't sure. Melissa, I have the prescription. I have the timeline. I have her credit card showing she never went to the conference. How is any of that preventative? Melissa sighed. I know. I think she's convinced herself it wasn't as bad as it was. She keeps saying you're overreacting, that lots of couples survive infidelity. Lots of couples don't have to get STD tested because their spouse hid antibiotics in the medicine cabinet. The divorce proceeded with brutal efficiency. Sarah tried to contest the asset division, arguing that one incident shouldn't cost her everything. Margaret's response was surgical. Your Honor, this wasn't one incident. This was a pattern of deception involving months of planning, evidenced by email exchanges, fraudulent expense reporting to her employer securing accommodations under false pretenses, engaging in adultery with a colleague, contracting an STI through said adultery, hiding her medical condition from her spouse, continuing marital relations while infected and under treatment, exposing Mr. Rivera to health risks without his knowledge or consent. The judge found the health endangerment particularly egregious. Sarah received minimal alimony for 6 months, just enough to relocate. I kept the house, the better car, and most of our investments. She kept her shame in a Google search that would haunt her career forever. It's not fair, she sobbed as we left the final hearing. 5 years of marriage destroyed over 3 days? No, I said quietly. 5 years of marriage destroyed over 28 pills hidden behind the vitamins. Her attorney hustled her away before she could respond. 6 months later, I was sitting across from Emma at a wine bar in the Arts District. She was a nurse practitioner at a competing hospital system, someone I'd met through my cycling club. Smart, funny, with an infectious laugh and brutal honesty about her own divorce 2 years prior. I should probably mention, she said over our second glass of Cabernet, I'm kind of paranoid about health stuff. Occupational hazard. I get tested every 6 months, always have a clean bill of health. I know that's probably weird to bring up on a second date, but actually that's incredibly reassuring, I admitted. My ex hid chlamydia meds in our bathroom. From an affair. So I've got some trust issues around health stuff. Her eyes widened. She hid antibiotics? Behind the vitamins, doxycycline from a walk-in clinic at the Dallas airport, during what was supposed to be a medical conference downtown. That's incredibly specific and awful, right? If you're going to cheat, maybe don't get an STI. If you get an STI, definitely don't hide the evidence in shared spaces. And if you do all that, absolutely don't keep taking the pills on a precise schedule that proves exactly when you were exposed. Emma leaned forward. Wait, she was still taking them when you found them? Day 13 of a 14-day course. 8 pills left in the bottle. She'd been taking them exactly as prescribed, which means she knew exactly when she was exposed. The medical precision of it all, that's what would get me. Not just the betrayal, but the calculated risk to your health. Exactly? She knew she'd been exposed, knew she needed treatment, got the prescription filled, and then came home and acted normal for 2 weeks while taking antibiotics twice a day. How did you figure it all out? The prescription was from an airport clinic during a downtown conference. Credit cards showed airport hotel charges instead of the conference venue. Plus, I knew what doxycycline was for because of a very regrettable spring break in college. Emma laughed. Sometimes our mistakes teach us valuable lessons. Yeah, like always check the medicine cabinet if your spouse comes back from a business trip acting strange. Or in my case, always check the credit card statements. My ex had a whole secret apartment. A whole apartment? 6-month lease. Furnished it and everything. Found out when a credit check for a car loan showed the additional address. Okay, that's worse than hidden antibiotics. Different kind of betrayal. Yours had the health component, which is its own violation. At least my ex's mistress didn't come with a prescription. We bonded over our shared experiences with betrayal, the way only people who've been through similar traumas can. But more than that, we bonded over our commitment to transparency moving forward. No hidden prescriptions, she said, raising her glass in a mock toast. No secret apartments, I replied, clinking my glass against hers. To honesty, even when it's uncomfortable? Especially when it's uncomfortable. The relationship with Emma progressed slowly, built on a foundation of radical honesty. When she had her regular health screening, she showed me the results without my asking. I know you need this, she said simply. And honestly, everyone should be this careful. When we reached the point of physical intimacy, the conversation was clinical, but necessary. Recent test results, she said, pulling up the patient portal on her phone. All clear as of 2 weeks ago, and no new partners since then. Same, I said, showing her my most recent results. Though mine has a more dramatic backstory. The Dallas incident. Is that what we're calling it now? Better than the chlamydia conference. We both laughed, but there was healing in the humor. Transforming trauma into something we could joke about, something that had led to better things. A year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into an old colleague at a medical technology conference, a real one, downtown at an actual convention center. Did you hear about the Dallas incident? He asked after a few drinks at the networking reception. The Dallas incident? That's what people call it now, when those 2 healthcare managers got fired for the affair with the STI. Apparently, it started a whole wave of partners checking up on conference attendance. You're kidding. Nope. HR departments started requiring conference check-ins, actual attendance verification. 3 other affairs were discovered at different companies when spouses started checking hotel charges versus conference venues. All from one prescription bottle? The woman's ex-husband found antibiotics and traced the whole thing. Credit cards, clinic visits, the works, posted it all online. Became like a cautionary tale. Huh, I said, trying to sound casual. Wild story. The airport Marriott near DFW is basically blacklisted for business travel now. People call it Chlamydia Central. They actually had to do a whole rebranding campaign. I excused myself, claiming I needed to check on a presentation. But really, I just needed to process the surreal experience of hearing my own life story become industry legend. Later that night, I called Emma from my hotel room, the downtown Hyatt, firmly attached to the convention center. You'll never guess what someone just told me about, I said, and relayed the conversation. Your prescription bottle discovery has its own mythology now? Apparently, I've saved multiple marriages, or ended them, depending on your perspective. The Rivera Rule. The what now? That's what I've been calling it when I tell friends. If your spouse has antibiotics from a walk-in clinic in a different city, ask questions. If they claim it's preventative, Google the medication. You've been telling people? Only when relevant. My friend Kate was worried about her husband's golf trip to Phoenix. I told her to check for mysterious prescriptions when he got back. And? No prescriptions, but she did find a receipt for a couple's massage. Turns out he was planning their anniversary surprise. So the Rivera Rule helped save a marriage through false alarm. That's actually kind of sweet. The rule works both ways. It either exposes deception or confirms trust. 2 years post-Dallas, I was living in a different house, in a different part of the city. Emma and I had moved in together 6 months earlier, building something real on a foundation of trust and mutual respect. The old house, with its memories and that medicine cabinet, had sold quickly to a young couple excited about the original hardwood floors and updated kitchen. I hoped they'd have better luck with honesty in those rooms. I have something to show you, Emma said one evening, pulling out a small box from her work bag. My heart rate spiked irrationally. Old trauma responses die hard. She must have seen my expression because she quickly opened it. A pregnancy test. Positive. I know we said we'd wait another year, she started, but I kissed her, cutting off whatever apologetic explanation she was preparing. No buts. This is wonderful. You're sure? I know after everything with Sarah, the timing. Sarah and I tried for a year before she suggested we take a break from trying. 3 months later, she was in Dallas with James. Looking back, I think she'd already checked out of the marriage and didn't want to complicate her exit with a pregnancy. That's incredibly calculating. Or maybe she was just scared. I've stopped trying to understand her motivations. What matters is now. This, us, our baby. Emma's eyes filled with tears. The happy kind. Our baby. That sounds pretty perfect. No hidden prescriptions required. Paul. Too soon? It's been 2 years. Comedy equals tragedy plus time. That night, as Emma slept beside me, her hand resting protectively over her still flat stomach, I thought about the strange journey that had led here. A headache, a search for aspirin, a prescription bottle hidden behind vitamins. Such small things that had unraveled one life and eventually led to another. I kept one photo from that period stored in a password-protected folder on my computer. Not out of bitterness or obsession, but as a reminder. The prescription bottle next to the conference brochure Sarah had printed but never used. Sometimes I'd look at it when life felt particularly challenging, reminding myself that I'd survived worse. That discovery, as painful as it was, had been a gift. Without that bottle, I might have spent years in a marriage built on deception. Might have raised children with someone capable of such calculated dishonesty. Might have never met Emma, never experienced what real trust felt like. The Dallas incident, as it became known, served as a warning to others. But for me, it was more than a cautionary tale. It was a doorway, a painful passage from one life to another. Better one. The spare bedroom in our new house would become a nursery. We'd paint it soft yellow, hang mobiles, fill it with hope instead of hidden pills. There would be a medicine cabinet in the adjoining bathroom, and it would contain nothing but transparency. Children's Tylenol, Band-Aids with cartoon characters, honest prescriptions for ordinary ailments. Can't sleep? Emma murmured, stirring beside me. Just thinking. Good thoughts or bad thoughts? Good. Definitely good. Want to share? Just grateful? For headaches? For finding things? For ending up here? She was quiet for a moment, processing. Emma knew my story well enough to follow the thread. The Rivera rule led to Rivera happiness? Something like that. We should frame the rule. Put it in the nursery. Always check the medicine cabinet. You never know what you'll discover. That's either very morbid or very profound for a nursery. Both. We're raising a child in the age of information. They should know that truth has a way of surfacing, usually when you're just looking for aspirin. I pulled her closer, marveling at how comfortable honesty could be with the right person. No hidden bottles, no secret hotels, no manufactured conferences. Just truth, even when it was mundane or unflattering or difficult. I love you, I said. No antibiotics required. That's the worst declaration of love ever, she laughed. Also, I love you too. Prescription free. 6 months later, Sarah tried to reconnect. The email came through my work address, probably the only one she could find that I hadn't blocked. Paul, I know you've moved on, and I'm truly happy for you. I'm writing because I'm in therapy now, real therapy, and part of my healing process is making amends. I don't expect forgiveness or even a response. I just wanted you to know that I understand now the full weight of what I did. Not just the affair, but the lying, the health risk, the complete betrayal of trust. You deserved better. You deserved honesty. I'm sorry I couldn't give you that. I hope you found it now. S. I read it twice, then forwarded it to Emma. We'd promised full transparency, even about difficult things. How do you feel about that? She asked over dinner. Honestly? Vindicated, maybe? But mostly just distant. Like she's writing about someone else's life. Do you want to respond? No, there's nothing to say. She's sorry, fine. She's in therapy, good for her. But that doesn't undo Dallas or the antibiotics, or the weeks of lying, or the expense fraud. Though I heard through the grapevine that she's working in medical billing now in Arizona. Apparently, the Dallas incident made her unhireable in hospital administration. Actions have consequences. Yeah. Though I do hope she's actually getting help. Nobody should go through life thinking that level of deception is normal. Emma reached across the table, taking my hand. You're a better person than I would be. I'm still mad at her on your behalf. Anger takes energy. I'd rather spend that energy on us, on the baby, on building something real. Speaking of the baby, I have my 20-week scan tomorrow. You're still planning to come? Wouldn't miss it. Want to see our little one and make sure everything's developing normally. No hidden prescriptions in the ultrasound? If there are, we have bigger problems than infidelity. The scan was perfect. A healthy baby girl, all measurements normal. The technician printed extra pictures and I carried them in my wallet like a talisman. Proof of the future, evidence of hope. Emma and I had decided to name her Grace. It seemed fitting. She was our grace after trials, our unexpected blessing after betrayal. You know she'll hear the Dallas story someday, Emma said as we drove home from the appointment. When she's older, asking how we met. We'll tell her the age-appropriate version. Daddy was married before, it didn't work out. Then he met Mommy and they lived happily ever after. And when she's older, teenagers have a way of demanding the whole truth. Then we'll tell her about the importance of honesty in relationships, about how hiding things, even small things like prescription bottles, can destroy trust. and how it's better to face hard truths than live with comfortable lies. The Rivera Rule, Next Generation Edition. Hopefully she'll never need it, but if she does, she'll know what to look for. That evening, organizing the nursery, I found myself in front of another medicine cabinet. This one was white, pristine, empty, except for infant acetaminophen and gas drops the pediatrician had recommended having on hand. No antibiotics, Emma said, coming up behind me, hidden or otherwise. Just baby supplies and radical honesty. The best medicine. 5 years after Dallas, the story had become something else entirely. The initial scandal had faded, replaced by new industry dramas and fresher gossip. But the lessons remained, codified into corporate training modules about appropriate conference behavior and expense reporting. I occasionally Googled Sarah out of curiosity. Her digital footprint was minimal. The Arizona medical billing job, a sparse LinkedIn profile, no social media presence. She'd learned, apparently, about the permanence of internet shame. James Morrison had reinvented himself as a business ethics consultant, which was either deeply ironic or perfectly appropriate. His website bio mentioned learning from past mistakes without getting specific. His wife Jennifer had divorced him and written a book about surviving infidelity in the digital age. Chapter 3 was titled, The Prescription That Changed Everything. She quoted you, Emma said, reading over my shoulder one evening. Listen to this. My anonymous correspondent taught me that evidence of betrayal often hides in plain sight. A prescription bottle, a hotel charge, small things that reveal enormous truths. His courage in reaching out saved me years of deception. Anonymous correspondent. I like that. Like I'm deep throat for the infidelity age. Deep throat might not be the best analogy given the circumstances. Fair point. Grace, now 4, ran into the room holding a picture she'd drawn. Look, Daddy! I made our family! The drawing showed 3 stick figures holding hands, plus what appeared to be a small blob. What's that? I asked, pointing to the blob. That's baby brother. He's still in Mommy's tummy, so he's just a circle for now. Emma and I exchanged glances. We just found out the week before and hadn't told Grace yet. How did you know about baby brother? Emma asked carefully. I saw the test thingy in the bathroom trash. Pink lines mean baby, right? Even our 4-year-old was finding evidence in bathrooms. The Rivera Rule was apparently genetic. Yes, sweetheart. Pink lines mean baby. We were going to surprise you this weekend. I surprised you instead. She beamed, then ran off to add more details to her drawing. So much for keeping secrets in this family, Emma laughed. I'd rather have a daughter who notices everything than one who notices nothing. Even if it ruins surprises. Especially then. Surprises are overrated. Truth is undervalued. That weekend, we told Grace the full story of becoming a big sister, complete with ultrasound pictures and discussions about how babies grow. She listened with the intense concentration only preschoolers can muster, then asked, Will baby brother hide things like the mean lady who made Daddy sad? Emma and I froze. We'd never told her about Sarah, certainly not in those terms. What mean lady, sweetie? Emma asked gently. Grandma Mike said Daddy was sad because a mean lady hid medicine and told lies. But then he met you and got happy again. Grandma Mike was my brother's wife, who apparently needed a lesson in age-appropriate disclosure. That's essentially correct, I said slowly. Sometimes people hide things and it hurts others. But in our family, we always tell the truth, even when it's hard. Like when I broke Mommy's favorite mug. Exactly like that. You told us right away and that was the right thing to do. Even though I got in trouble. You got in trouble for climbing on the counter, not for telling the truth. Remember? We were proud of you for being honest. Grace nodded solemnly. No hiding. Got it. Can I name baby brother? What would you name him? Emma asked, clearly grateful for the subject change. Truth! That way he can't lie. Emma and I shared another look, this one amused. That's an interesting name, sweetie. We'll add it to the list. Later, after Grace was in bed, Emma and I sat on the porch, processing the day. Truth Rivera, Emma mused. It has a certain ring to it. Absolutely not. Oh, come on! After everything, wouldn't it be poetic? Our son is not becoming a walking reminder of my ex-wife's pharmaceutical adventures. Fair enough. But Grace's instinct was good. Name him something that represents honesty. Frank? Two on the nose. Justin? As in justice? Maybe. We have time to decide. At least 5 months, assuming he doesn't surprise us like his sister. No surprises, Emma said firmly. I'm scheduling that C-section. After your Dallas experience, I believe in controlling what we can control. The anti-surprise philosophy. The Rivera way. 6 months later, our son was born as scheduled. We named him William, after Emma's grandfather, a man known for his integrity. Will Rivera, strong, simple, honest. No hidden meanings, Emma said, holding him for the first time. Just a good name for what we hope will be a good man. The best prescription we can give him, I agreed. As I write this now, it's been 10 years since Dallas. A full decade since I opened a medicine cabinet looking for aspirin and found antibiotics instead. The industry barely remembers the scandal that once dominated conference gossip. New dramas have replaced old ones. The airport Marriott has successfully rebranded, though old-timers still make jokes. Sarah remarried, according to a mutual acquaintance. A widower with 2 kids, someone who didn't Google her history or didn't care. I hope she's learned to value honesty. I hope those kids don't find hidden prescriptions. I hope her second chance is better than her first. James Morrison's consulting firm failed after someone leaked his origin story to clients. Last I heard, he was selling insurance in Nevada. His ex-wife Jennifer's book became a bestseller. She sends me a Christmas card every year, unsigned but with a Dallas postmark. A quiet thank you for the message that changed her life. Emma and I built something beautiful on the ashes of betrayal. 2 kids who know the value of truth. Careers that flourish on mutual support. A marriage that works because we do the work. Every 6 months, we share our health screenings. Not because we don't trust, but because transparency is our love language. Daddy, why do you always check the medicine cabinet? Grace asked recently, catching me doing my habitual scan. Just making sure we have what we need, sweetheart. But you do it every day. Old habits. From the mean lady? I sat down, pulling her onto my lap. At 9, she was getting too big for this, but I sensed an important conversation approaching. Want to hear the real story? The real story? Not the kid version? The teenage preview version. So I told her, in simple terms, about trust and betrayal. About finding evidence of lies in unexpected places. About how small dishonesties can destroy big loves. About why Daddy checks medicine cabinets and Mommy shows her test results, and why we never ever hide things from each other. So the medicine made you sad? She asked when I finished. No, baby. The lying made me sad. The medicine just revealed the lies. Like when Will tried to hide his broken toy and we found the pieces under his bed. Exactly like that. But you found Mommy because of the medicine lady's lies. That's true. So maybe the lies were good? No, sweetheart. Lies are never good. But sometimes, surviving bad things leads us to better things. That doesn't make the bad things okay. It just means we can build something positive from negative experiences. She thought about this with the intensity of a child processing complex moral concepts. I'm glad the mean lady lied, she finally declared. Otherwise, you wouldn't have met Mommy, and I wouldn't exist. I'm glad you exist too, but I would have preferred getting here without the lies. The Rivera rule should be check for lies, but be grateful for where truth leads you. Out of the mouths of babes. That night, I updated my journal, the one I'd been keeping since the divorce. The Rivera rule had evolved over the years. If your spouse has antibiotics from a walk-in clinic in a different city, Ask questions if they claim it's preventative. Google the medication trust, but verify, especially around conferences. Transparency is the highest form of intimacy. Evidence of betrayal often hides in plain sight. Check for lies, but be grateful for where truth leads you. That last one, courtesy of my 9-year-old philosopher, might be the most important. The medicine cabinet in our home no longer holds secrets, only solutions. Band-aids for scraped knees, antibiotics for legitimate infections properly prescribed and openly discussed, vitamins we actually remember to take sometimes. Each prescription tells a story of care, not deception. Sometimes I still get headaches. When I reach for the aspirin, I remember that night 10 years ago. The weight of discovery, the collapse of trust, the beginning of the end that was actually the beginning of everything. Find what you need? Emma asks, catching me in one of these moments of reflection. Always, I answer. No hidden surprises. The best kind of medicine cabinet. The only kind worth having. Will runs in, holding his knee. I need a Band-Aid. A big one. I examine the tiny scrape that definitely doesn't require a Band-Aid, but absolutely needs one in the mind of a 5-year-old. Emma hands me the box. Cartoon dinosaurs, his current favorite. There, I say, carefully applying it. All better. Thanks, Daddy. I'm going to show Grace. He runs off, wound forgotten in the excitement of showing off his bandage. Remember when our biggest concern was hidden pills? Emma muses. Now it's keeping enough dinosaur Band-Aids in stock. Progress. The best kind. The Dallas incident faded into history, but its lessons remain. In our home, in our marriage, in the way we're raising our children. Honesty isn't just a policy, it's a practice. Truth isn't just preferred, it's required. And if that means checking medicine cabinets with the vigilance of a pharmacy inspector, so be it. Some habits, born from trauma, evolve into traditions of transparency. The Rivera Rule lives on, not as a cynical warning, but as a hopeful reminder. Pay attention, ask questions, value truth over comfort. And when you find deception, have the courage to face it. Because on the other side of that courage waits a life built on solid ground. A partner who shows you test results without being asked. Children who confess to breaking mugs and finding pregnancy tests. A medicine cabinet with nothing hidden behind the vitamins. Just aspirin when you need it. Band-Aids for real wounds. And the quiet confidence that comes from knowing exactly what's there. No surprises, no secrets, no Dallas. Just truth, in prescription bottles and in life, clearly labeled and honestly shared. That's the real Rivera Rule. Build a life where you never have to check, but check anyway, because vigilance is what keeps trust alive. And sometimes, just sometimes, what you find while looking for one thing leads you to exactly where you need to be. Even if it takes a hidden prescription to show you the way.